So great moments in white privilege here. And this is something I'm going to write an article about this later on and talk more about it later on. I might actually pull this out and put this into a YouTube clip here because it needs to be said. Retailers become heated over Marvel variants, diversity in closed doors, New York Comic Con panel. So if you don't know what this happened is, over the last year or so, you've been seeing these articles and these things coming up about comic book store owners and retailers complaining about Marvel's changing too many characters. SJWs are ruining comics and their sales are down and blah, 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 blah. So at New York Comic Con, there was a closed-door retailer-only panel, and things did not go well. An exchange between direct market retailers and Marvel Comics editors became heated in the closing minutes of a Marvel's retailers-only panel at New York Comic Con 2017. Marvel executive, let's see, we should go here. One of the retailers fielded a question about an upset retailer, and he was complaining about a Marvel lenticular variants not selling well in the store. And the retailer eventually cut Nick Lowe, one of the editors, off and expressed his distaste for Marvel's recent trend of replacing and altering existing characters. The retailer specifically cited examples such as characters that don't reflect the ethnicity, gender, and sexuality of their predecessors, specifically expressing his distaste for Iceman kissing other men, Thor becoming a woman. The retailer's complaint sparked an outcry among other retailers present in the room, some echoing his frustrations with multiple attendees raising their voices to speak over each other. The original speaker called for creating new characters and not messing with the old guys. The old guys are solid, while a second said that Marvel has never replaced his characters like this. Lowe pointed out that changing the nature of the characters' identities was ingrained in Marvel's history, pointing out example of James Rhodes to Frog Thor. Which, by the way, Frog Thor will be in our Thor Part 1. We'll be talking about that. It's actually pretty good. The retailer responded to that Marvel had never replaced them all at once before, going on to say he has Marvel Cinematic Universe fans come into a store to find Avengers comics only to leave when they see that Thor is a woman and Captain America is a black man. Lowe reiterated that Marvel is bringing many of its recently absent characters, including Steve Rogers, back to the forefront of its legacy initiative, and that Marvel will continue to focus on creating character stories that reflect the world outside your window, a long-time Marvel adage. He also stated that Marvel will continue to publish characters that fans of all backgrounds connect to before closing the panel out at planned time. This seemed to do little to calm down the increasingly heated retailers who congregated around Marvel's senior vice president of marketing, David Gabriel, in the hall outside the panel, continuing to express their frustration and angers over these issues. So why is this a great moment of white privilege? Because these are a bunch of salty old white men who are terrible business owners. That's what this is. This is the entire thing that we have been seeing about this talk about comic books not selling, SJWs are ruining comic books, blah, 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 blah. All right? It's all fucking bullshit. Even the talk about how comic book sales are down now, comic book sales have been ridiculously high compared to previous years. I think last year they sold $580 million in comics. That is high when you consider it. Print comic books, it's pretty high. This year's about 10% down, but they're still way higher than they were beginning of the 2000s. All right? Still going to make money. But the bigger problem here is these motherfuckers are just old. They're complaining about, you know, Thor's a woman and Captain America's a black guy. And so my people come into my store, they leave because they can't. Then they weren't good. What? So Captain America can't be a black guy now? Thor can't be a woman? Like, what changes in the story other than, like, why is that it? And not to mention, if they're new to the Marvel comics because of they watch the movies, they come into your store, you have long boxes of Thor comics with Thor as a man. Why can't you sell them that? There are plenty of stories here, and if, like, I don't understand what the problem is. Like, there are more comic books of Captain America being a straight white man than there are of him being a black man. Sell them the white man comics if that's what you want. If that's what they want, if they just can't get into, you know, Sam Wilson being Captain America, even though right at this point he's given that shield up and it's back to being Steve Rogers. Let's say they just can't do that. Sell them the old shit then. I don't see what the fucking problem is.
I mean, frankly, they're looking for something to blame, but inevitably those motherfuckers are Blockbuster. That I mean, you're mad because there's diversity and variety now, and they're in the culture, reading your comics. So Marvel is trying to cater to that, and Marvel is also kind of going, "Hey man, let's rock things, let's change things up a little bit." I've never wanted to read a Captain America comic book ever until it was revealed that he was Hydra. Then I was like, "Oh, you have piqued my interest. I kind of want to read now." Also, these tears taste so good coming from around this misogynistic, racist ass culture of so fans who feel like they need to dictate what type of creativity and what type of writing should be allowed within their comic books. To me, it's just a bunch of whiny bitch ass motherfuckers who talking about, oh, I can't keep my business afloat. How is that Marvel's fault? Like, how is that their fault for changing up characters? Like, people are I don't hear a bunch of other, like, are the comicsology things saying the same thing?
Well, see, that's the real problem, right? The real thing that that we don't talk about is every single one of these comic book people that are complaining, these retailers are complaining about not being able to sell. They're complaining about Marvel when they need to complain about the fact that they're the record store. You are now a record store in the age of digital music. Because here's the thing, all right? If I want to get a comic book, why the fuck would I get up, get dressed, get in my car, drive down to your crusty ass, dank ass, suck ass fucking comic book store with your clearly racist, bigoted ass and buy a comic book from you when I can literally roll over, pick up my tablet, and buy as many fucking comic books as I want from a Comixology app? Like, why would I do that?
I just think it's funny that comic book store owners are going out of business or having trouble making sales, but Barnes and Nobles is just fucking fine.
No, like, Barnes and Nobles, no, they're not. No, Barnes and Nobles,
they actually were selling a product that allowed you not to buy the physical copies of the books that were still in Barnes and Nobles. And guess what? Guess what parking lot is still full? Barnes and Nobles.
Actually, no, Barnes and Nobles, I think they're out of business.
Are they?
That's what I'm saying. That's the thing.
Near my job stays packed.
Oh, that one maybe, but like Barnes and Nobles and several other bookstores also went out of business. The reason why, though, it's not because people stopped reading. We get them digitally now. Like, you can go to you have a Kindle. What do I?
That's not Barnes and Noble's having trouble. That's Barnes and Noble's going, okay, like, we don't need all these stores anymore. It's the same thing. Like, Best Buy's not going out of business, but they close down stores because they just don't need that many places for retailers to be able to walk into and buy stuff if that's not what they're doing. They changed their model. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, if you want to get people to come into comic book stores, then you need to change the setup of your comic book store. If the only thing if you think I'm just going to come in your comic book store to buy comic books or Funko Pop toys, you're tripping. Well, you're fucking delusional. Like, even stores, like even music stores now, FYE sells so much other shit besides what it used to sell, just music. But like, and they're still going down because they still haven't adjusted properly to the culture.
Yeah.
Like, blame technology, but don't blame diversity in literature.
Yeah, Barnes and Nobles, I mean, they're closing bookstores and their sales are down. They're saying there is a small upswing with them, but for the most part, they're down. But that goes to my point. It's like, if Barnes and Nobles is having problems, and you're a comic book store, and so you're even a smaller market, right? You're now not selling. Barnes and Noble sells all kinds of books. You're just selling comic books. Why did you not see this trend coming, and why did you not change? Why did you not realize and see the writing on the wall that, hey, listen, Marvel's got Marvel Unlimited. They have a deal with Comixology. DC does Comixology. Yeah, I kind of think that the writing's on the wall and this digital thing is going to pick up. So maybe we need to change our business model so that we can attract new customers and get people into our fucking store. But they don't do that. They literally sit here and they complain about, oh, well, no, it's we're not selling anymore because it's Marvel and people aren't buying these comic books. Or maybe it's 2017 and nobody goes into brick and mortar stores anymore. Do you understand how many?
To change it. I don't. I feel like that they're trying to work against the digital comic book streaming services. Like I think that's stupid. I would more be looking at, is there ways that you can work with these companies, Marvel Unlimited and stuff, to be like, hey, if you come in the store and you read or whatever, you'll get like 20% off or 10% off of these comic books. Change the way your store is set up. Is it comfortable? Is it inviting?
Where's it? Amalgam in Philly? The one with the owned by the black woman in Philly?
It's a coffee shop too.
Yeah,
like people want to go there because it's the ambiance is nice. That's why Starbucks can still make a buku fucking cash, despite the fact that buying your own coffee maker will cost you $30 and you'll make better coffee with it. It's the whole ambiance effect, right? Like, so you need to be doing that. You need to be working with these streaming service, or trying to develop your own to get people to come back into your stores.
How about you? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was just gonna say, and stop being fucking assholes. Like, I went into a record store the other day, and you know what that guy did when I walked in?
What?
Nothing. It was very easy to walk the fuck out. It wasn't inviting. It didn't smell good. Some of this shit looked like kind of trashy. He just sat there reading his fucking paper. Like, he's given up on being a merchant. So I'm giving up on being his customer. And that's the same way that they're doing. That's the same thing that people are going to do with y'all. There's nothing fun at this point, it seems, about going to a comic book store and y'all or more specifically, y'all's comic book stores. And y'all made that very prevalent when you went to fucking New York Comic Con and showed your racist asses.
Right. Like, do you think people are going to go to your store now? If they ever find your name, do you think it's going to drive sales to your store now? Funny thing you mentioned about when you walk in the store. Last two comic book stores I walked in was never approached by anybody in those comic book stores and to say, hey, what are you looking for? Never approached by anybody in the stores. And again, like you said, when that happens, very easy to walk out. When Shandy and I went to Iceland and we went into that record store that is beside the hotel, right? We're in Iceland. She walks into the record store. Those people were, again, we're from out of the fucking country, right? They came up to us, asked her, hey, listen, what are you looking for, blah, blah, blah. She asked about something. She was like, listen, we don't have it here, but if you want, we can order it for you and then ship it to you. Like, they engaged with her. She bought a shit ton of records from them because they engaged. Like, they made it feel interesting. They had music playing. They had all the stuff there. It was a cool atmosphere, and they made us feel welcome. When we walked in, they were a bunch of other people there. There were a bunch of people that I think worked at the store, or maybe just like their friends, and they were having their own conversation. But when we walked in, they still stopped to talk to us to say, hey, how are you doing? Can I help you? Let us know. If you're looking for anything, they did the bare minimum. In so many of these stores, they don't do that. You walk in, and God forbid you're a woman or you're a person of color, and they look at you like, and they don't say right.
They kind of still look at you like you're not going to buy shit. Like,
right.
He might steal a comic.
Right. And I'm like, oh, I don't need to be here. Motherfucker, look, you're mad at Marvel. You do realize I can buy subscriptions and I can buy hard copies on Amazon. I just got I'm buying the volume for the button, the Batman and Flash thing that Tom King, I think it's Joshua Williamson did. And I just pre-ordered it on fucking Amazon. Why go to a comic store when I can literally do it from my phone? Then you go to the fact that, hey, have you seen some of the websites for some of these stores? Oh, they're fucking trash. They're fucking trash.
They didn't put no money into it because they still think it's the days of MySpace.
They're fucking trash. They look like they're running GeoCities or Angel Fire. Mind you, then you go to somewhere like Midtown. And Midtown, actually, that's the place I buy my comics from when I want sometimes hard copies that outside of Amazon. I buy them from Midtown. I buy them from a store in New York because they actually have an easy to search site. It looks like a professional site done. It's inviting. They offer all kinds of fucking discounts. That's the thing. Like, again, why would I come into your comic book store if I can go onto my tablet and Marvel is running a buy one get one free fucking sale? And it's not on old comics, it's on new ones too. why the fuck would I come into your store? What are you offering me to come in and buy a physical copy of your book? Yeah, I know some people like physical copies. It's the same conversation we had when people were talking about going digital with the Xbox One. People were like, well, I like having a physical. Listen, that's fine. There are people out there like that. That's not going to be most people. Why? On the tip of my finger, I can fit my entire comic book collection right now. I have 128 gigs I put into my goddamn tablet. Do you know how many that's all I'm stored in the tip of my finger? If I was to take all the comics I have on that disc and have physical copies, I'd fill a fucking room. I'm sorry. I'm never going back. I don't need the physical copy. I buy physical copies of books. Yeah, that was a thing when they were limited prints and they were going to be worth something. You know? They don't do that shit no more. Now you mass produce comic books. That comic book you bought last week, it ain't going to be worth anything because they mass produce this shit now. It's not going to be a rare collectible. All right? They make hundreds of thousands, millions of these issues. It's not going to be a collectible anymore. So what's the fucking point of me going and buying a physical copy of the book? I can literally buy it on my tablet. It takes up almost no space. I can read it. That's your competition. It's not the fact that SJWs are ruining comic books. It's not the writing is bad now. It's not, oh, well, nobody wants to buy Black Captain America. It's none of that shit. Nobody going to your fucking store because you're a goddamn dinosaur. You're a dinosaur.
What's funny is they never thought about the fact that the reason they're probably still even making ends meet to keep the store going and pay their rent is because things like New York Comic Con and Marvel and DC films have encouraged more people to think the culture is cool, which incorporates diversity. And now you have more people of color and more people of the opposite sex to what people assumed was the only sex that read comic books, now buying comic books. That's the only reason. Because real talk, your comic book heads left you. They were like the dudes like you, Chris, they left. They went right to these services where they could get things much easier.
Dude, like, why would I go? Why would
new people are going in the stores like, oh, I've never been in a comic book store before. You're not, but you're treating them like shit. You're doing exactly what the fuck nerds do. Mm-hmm. You're treating them like they're stupid because they don't know everything you know about comic book culture. So they might as well go to Comixology. As far as I'm concerned, that's what I did.
Like, comic book shops should be where people come in who don't know where to start. Like, I've had somebody ask me earlier when we were doing the show, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about buying a couple issues of Black Panther for my friend. Where should I start? Right? And I was like, well, first of all, don't get a couple issues. For comic books, for something like that, you probably need to get a couple volumes and read so you can get like 12 issues instead of just 2. But it's like, that's what you need your comic book store to be. Your comic book store needs to be a place where people who don't know anything about comics can come in and get educated. That's really what you are. Because like you said, for people like me, nigga, I'm not going in to dig into long boxes in a comic book store. You wanna know why? I have Marvel Unlimited. And Marvel Unlimited, if you want to be mad at Marvel for something, be mad at them for something like Marvel Unlimited, where I can pay like what, $5.99 a month, and I have access to their entire back catalog. That's what ruined it for you. So now when I'm doing my research for Thor, I don't gotta go to a library. I don't have to go to a comic book store. I just open up my app, go to Marvel Unlimited, and I can find all the fucking issues I want. That's all I gotta do. That's what's killing you. Because I don't have to come in there and dig through your old issues of like. And that's the thing too. You have a lot of shit. Have you? I go into a comic book store and I look through the long box and I realize like, oh my god, so much of this stuff is like, why would I buy this? It's terrible. Like why? Like these are the old issues that people forget about. Nobody wants this shit no more. You know. Looking at sales. 2015. Overall American dollar sales for comics, graphic novels, and magazines for the year, $579 million. That was 2015. 2016, $580 million. Right. 2017. We are at right now through September, just under $400 million. You guys are selling a shit ton of stuff. Let's see what they were in 2000, right? Let's look at 2000. In 2000, it was $209 million. You guys are like, shit is selling. It's there. You know what's not selling? Things at your store. Your store isn't selling because you guys are a bunch of racist, sexist, bigoted jackasses that nobody gives a fuck about. That's what's not selling. You're catering to a bunch of racist people who never really read the comics to begin with. That's the problem. People are like, oh, well, you know, SJWs are ruining the comic books. Blah, 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 blah. Motherfucker, the number one selling comic book of all time is X-Men #1. Sold 7 million copies. 7 million copies of one comic book. That's the X-Men. The X-Men are as about as SJW as you can fucking get. So when people tell me SJWs are ruining comic books, SJWs are the only reason why comic books fucking exist. The only reason why comic books ever exist. The best stories in comic books are SJW stuff, which is just, by the way, using SJW as a pejorative. It's just, like, that just tells me you're a fucking idiot to begin with. Social justice warrior. Ooh. Yeah, you know what? You know who was a social justice warrior? Fucking MLK. MLK was. He was a social justice warrior. So, like,
no, it's a like when and I'm not even in the culture, like the comic book culture, like that. But when I'm reading articles about dudes going to New York Comic-Con into was it a closed door?
Yeah, it was a closed door retailer only event,
which was trash to begin with. Like, I get it, I guess, but I really feel like the attendees at New York Comic-Con should have been able to get into that room to hear what these motherfuckers are saying behind closed doors to retailers. I mean, and it got out. Right. Thank God, like the coverage got out. But that's the shit that people smile in your face and then bitch behind your back about. And there's no way you can walk into any Comic-Con at this point and not see all shades of people. All fucking shades. All sexes. And y'all are in a room complaining about Marvel catering to people. All people, not just you, but catering to people in general, people that read their comic books. Like, you're mad because dude came in on Tuesday and all of a sudden Captain America is black now. But here's the thing. Those people that you're saying are coming to your stores and leaving because all of a sudden they change the color, the race, or the sex of their favorite characters. How favorite are those characters of them really? Because that shit doesn't just happen. Again, I don't buy comic books, but I see fucking comic book news online all the time. I know when they're changing characters. There's no way for you to comicbook.com. There's no way for you to escape that news if you're involved in the culture. Like, if you're up on everything, that's not a surprise. You knew that was coming. Are you telling me that diehard Captain American fans walked into that store and were like, "Oh my God, I didn't think nothing like this ever happens in comic book culture ever."
If you know,
seriously,
you want to know why it's even worse? Captain America wasn't selling before anyway. It wasn't selling before anyway. That's a crazy thing. These motherfuckers are complaining about Avengers. Motherfucker, the Avengers shit didn't start selling until the movies. Before then, it was X-Men, and that was all people of color in that shit. What the fuck are you talking about? These motherfuckers are so fucking stupid.
That's my whole point. It's nothing but arguments and proof to support that people of color are the reason, and people of color and women are the reason that your fucking stores are even still open to service people with your shitty fucking service. Like, the only reason you can still pay your goddamn bills is because of people like me and people like Ashanti and Ash and Chris and all of us who just jumped into this culture because we just became fans, or people who thought it was okay now to be comic book fans and are out about it.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned, Ashanti, stuff like that. I got her some issues of Black Panther to read and stuff like that. But you know what? I went and got them myself for her. But I would never send her to a comic book store to do it because I don't trust a comic book store to be inviting enough for her to go into. you know. And it's like that's the crazy thing. It's not even on some, well, she's just a woman and she can't do. No, it's because I don't trust you assholes to make it an inviting enough thing. Because I see how you treat me, and I know. So if you don't treat me why would I send somebody that I'm trying to get into the culture and I'm trying to get into reading some of this stuff? Why would I send them to your shit? Like you said, what's crazy about this New York Comic Con thing is these fucking retailers said this shit, got all angry right there. Some of them probably had booths at Comic-Con, and I can tell you exactly what happens. Because sometimes I walk around the floor. I don't do it very often now, because I stopped doing it because they're all the fucking same. You walk in, and you're walking on the floor, and you come to a booth that sells comic books. So what do they have? They all have their long boxes out there. They have some of the more expensive comic books and some of the bigger issues on the back wall, and the person who's there selling stuff is just standing back there. They don't say anything to you. They don't invite you over. They don't have any kind of deal really going on to try to invite you to try to get you to buy anything. They just stand there with their long boxes out there, and they just expect you to do that. But there's like 6 other retailers with the same exact thing. You are all in the one place. You're like, oh, well, I'm not selling my stuff at Comic-Con. Well, geez, motherfucker, I wonder why. There's a guy literally right across from you selling the same exact shit. And doing the same exact thing. You're not doing anything to invite anybody over. You're not running any fucking deals. There's nothing really going on there. Like, why are you there? Oh, well, you can buy the latest issue of Black Panther. It's like, motherfucker, I can do that online. I can do that anywhere.
The 2 times that Ashley has had tickets to go to a con, right? She's brought a book. Ashley has walked that floor for the limited amount of time that she'll walk, and she's brought a book every time. Ask me how many times I brought a book from a con. Never. I have never brought a fucking book from a Comic-Con. Never. Ashley has brought more books from Comic-Cons than me, and she's been to way less than I have. She's not in the comic book culture.
But she's probably bought them from what, like Artist Alley?
Yeah, she went. She went.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Chris, she brought 2. She sent me back. Remember to get them signed.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So that's the difference. See, and again, I know Artist Alley. Sometimes those people don't sell as much either. But the difference between Artist Alley and these comic book retailers and the comic book exhibit thing here, the Artist Alley they hustle. If you at any point make eye contact. Don't walk through Artist Alley if you have somewhere to be. Because as soon as you make eye contact, they're in there. They pull you over. They talk to you. They engage with you because they're trying to sell their stuff.
And there's diversity.
And there's diversity.
Artist Alley. That's what got Ashley.
Yep.
What got Ashley was diversity. It wasn't Marvel and DC Comics. Ashley brought first second?
I can't remember what it was, but yeah.
I mean, that's the name of the company. I think it's First Second. Yeah. And I've seen their name before on other comic books, but when Ashley brought that book back and I looked at it, I was like, I don't know who did this. I mean, I'm looking at the art and it looks like a book that she would pick up and read. I'm like, okay, cool. When I went back to get them signed, I saw that they were First Second books. I was like, oh, I know that company. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's dope. Like she picked up a book from them. And she picked up another book. It was like from the same company that does Saga, I think.
That's Image.
And
That's Image.
Yeah, she just picked up an Image book because she liked the art and she was reading that one when we were on the plane. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like she kind of found her lane. And it wasn't because they were just like trying to push their work onto her, but they were inviting. And that spoke to her over the stuff that these guys constantly stock their store with that just isn't selling as well as some of these other, like, I guess they're like micro distributors for comic books. Yeah. Like, I guess they're getting bigger now, but I'm not sure the names that you don't really hear of. But then when you go out and you look at comic book lists, because I read comic book lists online every once in a while when I'm looking for something different to read. Mm-hmm. And I always see like these different books or these different distributors that I've never heard of. And I'm like, oh, I might go check that out.
Like
I might pick that up for $2 on Comixology because it's so easy.
They don't do any of that stuff. I think Shandy picked up some artwork from the guys who did Tuskegee Airs, the doctor. She interviewed them, and they were at New York Comic Con. She brought back the artwork, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that. Matter of fact, her sister had picked up the same artwork a couple years ago at fucking Awesome Con, like last year's Awesome Con, from the same guys, and that's how like. So it's like, right? I mean, it's diversity. They push their stuff versus you go to these white guys who are running. And again, it's not even like the big distributors themselves. You go to a DC, Marvel, or Image booth, even their people are inviting you in. They're like, "Hey, check this out. Hey, can I help you?" Like they're working the booth. You go to these comic book store booths though, the comic book store exhibitors, nothing. They just put their stuff up. They just sit back there. Sometimes you can even hear them being disgusted by the people that they're trying to sell to. So it's like, why would I ever buy anything from you? And then you said,
I don't know. And then I don't. The only book, and I just thought about it. I said I've never brought no book from a Comic-Con. I haven't ever brought one. But that the guy we interviewed that wrote the novel a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah,
I have his book on my desk at work, signed copy. Yeah. It is the only book that I have. It is the only book physically that I have read in probably the last 5 years outside of Wonder. Because I was on a plane and I was bored, and I didn't. Matter of fact, I didn't even have a physical copy of Wonder. I read that on my tablet. So it is the only physical book that I've read in years, and that was because we interviewed him. I got a signed copy from him, and I was like, you know what? I like the interview he did. I like the way he handled himself in Artist Alley. I'm gonna read this book, and I read that big ass book, and it sits on my desk at work, not because I didn't read it, but because I'm proud that, like, I feel I liked it that much. I was like, I really like this book, and I hope when people come to my desk, they see it and they ask me about it, so I can tell them where to get a copy from.
Right. I mean, and that's how it works. That's how art. But instead, you get all these. Like there's a big deal about one of these comic book retailers. He's like, I'm not going to Comic-Con again. Cause I don't sell. I'm like, cause you're a jackass. You sound like a jackass. You don't do anything to separate yourself from these other the other comic retailers out there. So why the fuck would anybody buy from you? Why would I come around and pay for things I can buy somewhere else? Huh? You even jack up your fucking prices on some of this shit. I can go to eBay. Some of their graded, like the older stuff too that I sometimes buy. I'll go around, look at the stuff. I'll go on eBay and be like, oh, I can get $100 cheaper on eBay. Why would I buy it from you? Why? Why would I? It doesn't make any sense. Like you have guys set up, well, we buy and sell comic books here at Comic-Con. That's not the place for. That's not what you do at the Comic-Con. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Who's coming to Comic-Con bringing comics to sell? That's not already set up in a booth. Like, come on, man. That doesn't make any fucking sense. You guys are terrible businessmen, and you're taking it out on Marvel and everybody else when you don't realize that it's you. You're the fucking problem. You're a dinosaur. You haven't changed. You're the guy still trying to sell fucking CDs in 2017. And I'm like, motherfucker, you ain't never heard of Apple? You ain't never heard of streaming? Like, we off that shit now. We off that shit. I mean,
there could be a point where physical comic books come back into popularity the same way vinyls did for the whole nostalgic feel, and maybe for even for quality. But I think that it takes a little bit more than just that. See, the push for vinyls to come back due to sound quality and nostalgia came from people constantly hearing vinyls in other places, right? The technology got better to play them, which made it more convenient to hear them places, which made it more convenient to play them places, which made more people decide, maybe I want a vinyl player. Oh, I'll start buying vinyls. And it also, I think Mike talked about it on our podcast. It was like the weight of it, like the weight of having one, and the actual artwork on album covers being in 12 by 12 on a vinyl, like that shit entices people. And that same thing could happen with comic books, man. Like artists and illustrators are still doing hella good work out here. People will read things digitally and decide, you know what? I want to have that book in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want a poster of that. Or I want to be able to pass that down to my kid and have that be like the first thing they hold and read. Even in the age of digital tech, there is still something to weight and like the art of it and the feel. There's just something to it. Maybe you don't always have Wi-Fi. Sometimes it is nice to pull a book out of your bag and just sit down and read it for people. There are people still built like that. There will always be people still built like that. You're not catering to them either. Okay? Because you just can't get over your own asses.
Yeah.
That you can't see shit for shit. And that's your fault. It's not Marvel's fault, man. Like,
Yeah,
you either care about your business or you don't. And what you really only care about is your own fucking egos and your feel from childhood being lost in this new digital tech age of comic culture.
well, a lot of these comic book stores, they open up just like people that open up restaurants. Oh, I like comic books. I'm gonna open a comic store. Like, whoa, dude, you need to have a business. You need to have a business plan. You need to track trends. You need to track marketability. You need to see, hell, half your comic book stores are in shitty locations. That's probably half the reason why people don't go to them. There's no parking. It's like I went to this one comic book store. I'm like, this place is in the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's fucking there's no parking. Just like I'm like, yo, why would I ever come back to the store? It's a fucking pain to get here.
How do I get in here?
Right, it's a pain to fucking get in here. Why would I ever? Why would I ever do this again? Right? So it's like if you're not treating your comic book store like that, and it's just like a hobby that you try to make money off of, motherfucker, you're never gonna go anywhere with it. You're never gonna go anywhere with it.
You're right about the business too. Like there's a reason that companies have like production managers and purchasers. Like if you don't know what comics you should be stocking because you're just so obsessed with the shit you grew up on.
That's the thing that kills me, right?
Yeah, you're not gonna fucking sell, dude.
That's the thing that kills me. They're like, oh, well, Marvel's not selling anymore. All right, fine. First of all, it's a lie. Like the Marvel Legacy stuff, the Marvel Legacy one apparently was the highest selling comic book of this year. The entire first week of Marvel Legacy comic books that came out this week all sold out and went to second print. So let's just kill that idea that this stuff isn't selling because apparently it does fucking sell. All right, but beyond that, all right, fine. Let's say Marvel isn't selling. Let's say Marvel's changed. We were just like, I'm done with selling Marvel. It doesn't work. All right, cool. Sell DC then. Sell Image. Sell some of this other stuff that's out here and push that stuff. Like, why is it that if you're just if my only thing is to sell whatever is the thing that people want, then why the fuck do you give a fuck what Marvel's doing? There are plenty of other publishers out there. Sell their shit. Like, it doesn't make it. Why are you complaining? Like, all you're doing is release. Like, here's the thing. If I was a record store owner, I don't give a fuck if the music is good or not. If people buy it, I'm gonna sell it. End of fucking story. I don't have to have an opinion on is this trap music? Is it ruining rap music? Is it rap music? I don't give a fuck. Does it sell? Then I'm fucking selling it. That's it. Like, why are you complaining? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, I get it. No, it's not that it doesn't sell. It's that it's not what you want to sell. It's the fact that you are a bigoted jackass and you really believe this shit and you don't want to sell the other stuff. It's not about it doesn't sell. You don't want to sell it. And that's fine. That just ruins your fucking business. And that's on you, you know? Because other thing too, like we were talking about, records making a comeback. Yeah, records are making a comeback, but you know what's not really making a comeback? Record stores. Like, because here's the thing. I can go to different places that sell other things and also sell vinyls. I can buy vinyls online. I can do all this. You're not going to see a lot of, and there might be a few here and there. You're not going to see a bunch of a new wave of record stores like when we were growing up. There was a record store all over the fucking place.
It's still a niche culture.
Yeah,
and a lot of artists are selling them on their own. See,
exactly.
That was another push. That was another push that brought vinyl back. Was all these artists that were touring?
Mm-hmm.
They're not selling CDs. They're selling vinyls.
Mm-hmm.
They sell vinyls and they sell hoodies and shirts. That's it. So when you go to their show, you're not going to pick up. You might find some that are doing CD copies, but you can sell a vinyl for more, and it probably costs the same amount of money to get made as a fucking CD. So whereas you can have a CD for $10, you can sell a vinyl for $25, and people are gonna buy the vinyls. They're gonna buy the fucking vinyls. So it's a bunch of stuff that played into it. It just did. You're right. It just didn't come back.
Yeah, you got to adjust.
That's gonna be the same thing that happens with comic book culture if it's meant to be. It won't just come back. It will be a lot of elements that went into play to give it a resurgence. Like but it won't be these racist motherfuckers.
Right. Right. And the last thing I'll say before we move on, because I'm going to cut some of the other stuff out we're going to do in the show. But the last thing is, like I was saying before, if you want to be mad at Marvel and DC or any of these other companies for anything, be mad at their partnership with Comixology. Like Marvel.com and their subscriptions, they sync with Comixology. Amazon bought Comixology, so your Amazon account syncs with Comixology. That's your real competition. That's who's really ruining your fucking store. Because again, why the fuck would I ever step inside of your store if all I gotta do is swipe, push a button on my tablet, and I'm done? You know, why? Why would I ever step in front of your store? That's your real competition. You're too busy complaining about SJWs and the writing and Thor's a woman now and Captain America's black and you're complaining about that shit. Meanwhile, Comixology and them are selling like gangbusters. Like they're just going through all this shit. And you're complaining about SJWs. I don't know, man. I just think you guys are terrible business owners. I think you're shitty business owners. Stop being shitty. Stop being shitty. Start trying to be a real fucking business owner. Read the fucking floor. I've been in comic books for 25 years. Yeah, you sound like it. You sound like you've been doing the same thing for 25 fucking years, and now you're mad your sales are down. Maybe you should bring somebody in to turn it around for you, because you sound like you're not. Sounds like you don't want to change. And hey, if you don't want to change, guess what's going to happen? Your business is going to fail. That is the number one thing anyone tell you about a business. Like, Phenom and I are both business owners. We both run our own little podcast networks. Phenom, how many times have you changed or started to change some of the tactics you use with doing your podcast? How many times are you always looking to see what other people are doing? You're looking at what trends are doing, and you're like, okay, how can we make sure that we are going to be in on this next trend? How can we make sure we're reaching out to people? Like, we're always constantly doing that, right?
No, that's my whole Instagram life now. Like, y'all don't understand. Like, y'all get on Instagram and y'all like do selfies and you take, pictures or whatever and you just post it. And you're like, ooh, look, Instagram. I'm on Instagram. My friends on Instagram, like my Instagram. That's cool. When I post shit from Comic Cons on Instagram, when I post videos on sites, I'm trying to get attention from certain outlets. I'm trying to get attention from the people that I took pictures of, right? Because I want them to see my work. And I want them to go, oh, that's dope, and then push it back out. And one thing that I had to learn to start doing was understand the intricacies of tagging in Instagram.
I'm still working on that.
Putting like you might shoot a picture, you might take a selfie of yourself and be like, oh, hashtag black dude, hashtag Good Friday, hashtag winning. Those are generic as fuck. I mean, they're popular, but they're also generic. When you start getting into things like hashtag redheads be winning, hashtag doing shit from the bottom up, like hashtag, like those hashtags for some reason gets people attention. And there are certain waves of tags that if you got them on your picture, all of a sudden everybody is looking at your Instagram.
All right. That's a cool thing. That's the cool thing about Instagram.
I haven't figured out the math behind the model yet.
Well, the interesting thing about Instagram is that when you do the hashtag, it'll show you how many posts are on that hashtag.
Right, and it'll show you what type of posts.
And you also would do
in with.
Right, but that's interesting. But that goes back to what it really ties into this conversation. Yo, how many of these comic stores have Instagrams? How many of them have Snapchat? And I get Snapchat is kind of weird, but how many have active Facebook pages, active Facebook groups, active Twitter pages that aren't just SJWs are ruining everything? Like, how many of them actually have an active social media platform?
I mean, Third Eye Comics is very active on social media.
And guess what?
And honestly, others are like them. I'm saying like they should be the poster child for this new era of trying to keep your comic book store alive.
And Third Eye Comics, from what I know, doesn't complain about any of this stuff. Doesn't
No,
have any of those
they
problems.
host sign-ins, they have gaming nights, they have reading nights, and I've never been there. I've never been there, but I know about all of this shit because they are extremely active on Facebook and Twitter. Like extremely. If I was a comic book head, that's where I would go.
Like,
where all the cool comic book heads go.
right. So your store isn't selling, but you're not doing any of that stuff. You're not putting in the work. You don't have the social media background. You don't. You're not inviting in anybody outside of angry white male nerds. And then you're wondering why your shop is fucking failing. So from a business point of view, you have no social media presence. You've limited your market to a shrinking market, because let's be honest here, the other thing too about you have to understand about white male nerds is they've kind of moved on. They complain a lot, but they're not buying shit. They're not the market right now. Your location and your setup just in general is outdated. You're a failed business. You're complaining about SJWs. You're just a failed business. I'm just fucking tired of this shit, man. Go fuck yourselves, man. I can't believe you guys went to New York Comic Con and did all that stuff and complained to Marvel. Here's the thing: you didn't complain to DC, even though DC is selling about the same amount of money, has a smaller market share and selling just about the same amount as Marvel is. You didn't complain to DC though; you complained to Marvel, and it's only because of the diversity stuff. You're telling your fucking selves. You're telling your fucking selves.